Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us. Feels like it's been a lot more than just 2 weeks, but it has only been 2 weeks. So a short agenda today, but coming back to some topics that were asked about before. So to start, we'll have Deanna Clemens talk about the SLP and SLPA and the ARD committee decision question that came up before. So with that, I will turn it over to Deanna.
Thanks, Ed. Is it okay? Can I just go ahead and share my screen? I think it would be easier to share where some of this guidance is coming from.
Absolutely. So
I think I see the option here. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Are you guys seeing my screen with some of the Child Find Network stuff? Great. So one of the things I wanted to share was that the Child Find Evaluation and ARD Supports Network is a TEA supported technical assistance network. And they recorded this ARD 101 webinar. So it was a live webinar, but they recorded it, and you can access this recorded webinar through the network webpage, which I can put the links to the webpage in chat too. But I wanted to tell you guys that this is a really nice resource they do a whole section in this webinar covering properly constituted ARD meetings and who is required at ARD meetings. And they do talk about the SLP question there. So I'm not going to click into the recording. I'm going to actually pull up the PowerPoint from that training that they go through. And this is a slide that's in there. And if you look at this third bullet, it specifically calls out that the speech language pathologist could be the special ed teacher or provider, because statute says special education teacher or provider where appropriate. So this is a place where we have current guidance that is pretty clear that the speech language pathologist could be the special education provider in an ARD meeting, again, where appropriate. So that is in that training. And then the other question that I know came up that I was asked to speak a little bit about was, what about speech language pathology assistance? And so I'm going to go to another screen share and show you where you can find information about this. So, because the answer is complicated. It's not a yes or no. It's a sometimes, it depends. So as you guys probably know, speech language pathology assistants, they are licensed by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So on their page, they have a section for the administrative rules. And I have that pulled up already. And I have it where you can see right the section where it talks about assistance in ARD meetings. So this is why I said it depends. It has the following stipulations. So they have to have written approval. They have to have 3 years of experience. It goes on several other bullets. One of the ones I wanted to point out to you guys that it talks about is the assistant will discontinue participation in the ARD meeting and contact the supervisor when questions or changes arise regarding the IEP document. So, I mean, there's a lot to consider if this is a practice that you might, or a procedure that you might allow. It in bullet 3, it talks about how the assistant is not the supervisor must attend if it's to develop the initial IEP. So there's just a lot of considerations for SLP assistant that is not nearly as cut and dry as could the speech language pathologist serve as the special education provider for students who are identified with a speech impairment and receiving speech services. That one's pretty clear, yes. But
Deanna, would you zoom in a little bit on that?
Sure.
People can't read it.
Yep. And is that better, Ed?
Yeah, it's bigger.
So there's just a lot. So I wanted to show you guys exactly, and these are the commissioner rules for this group of people in the or in the Texas Department, sorry, not commissioner rules, but in their licensing rules from TDLR. So I can put that in chat too to answer that question with what it says in their licensing rules. And then the other resource I wanted to just share, y'all probably are very familiar with this, but just a good place to go back to easily see required ARD members laid out is on the legal framework. There is a section for admission review and dismissal committee membership. And that's a nice place to see sort of all in one place where who's required. So you can see the people that are required, and then you can go over and see the links to either federal regulation or state statute where those rules are there. And so here you can see that it says special education teacher of the child, or where appropriate, not less than one special education provider. So that's the way that it's written in the rules. So I'm sure, I don't know if those were, I see on the agenda, I think those were the two things, SLPs and SLP assistants, that I was going to cover today.
So one question that came up for you, Deanna, was can the SLP, and maybe you know, can the SLP be the SPED teacher and the assessment rep at an ARD?
So assessment staff are the yes, because assessment, it doesn't have to be an assessment person. So right here I have the legal framework open. Let's go ahead and scroll to where it says a person who can interpret. Here it is. It's this. I'm going to move, I don't know, move my picture. And I'm going to try to make this a little bigger. It's right here. It's an individual who can interpret the instructional implications of evaluation results. And it may be the regular ed teacher, the special ed teacher, or provider. So that's how I know it's right there that the provider, special ed provider, could also be the person who interprets instructional implications of evaluation results. That is one of the evaluation person is someone who can serve a dual role, and those dual roles are spelled out right here for us: regular ed teacher, special ed teacher, or the LEA representative. But again, they have to actually be able to interpret the instructional implications of evaluation results. So that's a consideration depending on the situation. It may or may not always be appropriate for them, but if it's a speech only student and they've just done a speech evaluation, it would make sense that they would be able to review the results and implications of the speech evaluation. And those kinds of questions, like on dual membership, again, I just really want to encourage, to send your staff to this ARD 101 webinar. It really does a nice overview of some of these frequently asked questions. I know CTE comes up too. They cover that in there about, that CTE rep cannot serve in a dual role. It cannot also be the administrator, things like that. So it's a really nice resource. Any other questions for me, Ed?
So the only one is where on the TDLR can we find it?
I'm going to drop a link right to it right now in chat. And ARD 101, I see that coming up too.
I already did the ARD 101. It's up there. It's a child find link, and I did the legal framework link for you.
Thank you, Kim. I'm grabbing the speech, the licensing one right now too. And that, I should add that those rules were just updated in August of 2020. So it may be something that y'all aren't very familiar with yet, because it is pretty recent. And that section, I believe, is one that may have changed in August. I see some comments, Kim, that they don't see the link.
Yeah, I figured out my mistake because I did panelists. I just sent it to you, Ed and Justin. I'm sending it now. I'll get it again.
And I just put right now in for the licensing ones for speech language pathologist. And the way it's a very long document. So I will just give you a helpful tip that when you open that document, Control F to bring up the search box and put our IEP meeting or ARD meeting, and you'll find it right away. Only like 2 or 3 things come up in that whole document.
Okay, that was all the questions I see, Deanna. I'll follow up with you if there are any others.
Okay.
And then next on the agenda was actually Kim. So Kim can just keep talking.
Okay, let me share. All right, so this flyer should get sent out to y'all after this meeting if it hasn't already, but these are the most current postings from the SPED technical assistance team and the networks as of today. There's a quick reference document that provides a brief overview of the House Bill 3 dyslexia allotment, and it provides some guidance on how to spend that money. Just a reminder, this was in the special ed newsletter, but if you didn't receive that, the Texas Behavior Support Initiative, that state level training that meets requirements mandated by codes, that has been reworked and moved from the Region 4 site to the Tier Network site. So that link is there. The TSLAT, they have, if you click on this link here, there are 8 different resources that TSLAT has highlighted that are high quality and can assist schools and families during virtual learning. So I suggest you check that out. That's really useful. Just a reminder, we've said this in several different platforms, but the Small and Rural Schools Network, the application window for small and rural LEAs to apply to receive mental health services is November 9th through 20th. November 9th through 20th of 2020. Those services will run from January 4th through May 31st. And if you click on this link, you'll notice that the application isn't up yet, but that's because it will probably open on the 9th. And then just to highlight 2 of our networks, the Transition Network as well as Texas Can, they have resource libraries available where they're curating great ideas from teachers around the states of how they are fulfilling transition needs as well as instructional needs of students with complex access needs through this resource library. So teachers are doing great work, and they not only would like you to share the webinars, but also the link to the submission form so that if you have teachers who are doing great things in your district or your charter school, please get them to submit their great ideas so we can highlight them at the state level and other people can benefit from their great work. So this Transition Network, they have a webinar on this separate link, and their submission form is on this link. So those are 2 separate ones, whereas on Texas Can, it's one link. It'll take you to the actual webinar that kind of introduces you to the resource library, and the submission form is just at the bottom of the page too. All right, that's all I have.
Hey, Kim, before you go away, could you just really quick screen share and navigate folks to where they can find all the network sites all together? Because I'm not sure that that folks really are clear on how to get to them.
Okay,
And if I'm putting you on the spot, I can do it, but I'm pretty sure you know how.
I'm going to do my best. All right, let's see if I can. Wait, you're probably just seeing. Can you see the Google page?
Yep.
Okay. Usually, just having been at the agency for so long, I've learned that Googling is my best friend, not this little annoying drop-down box that comes down and covers all your stuff. So I just looked up TEA special ed. It got me to the special ed page. I scroll down and go to technical assistance and guidance. And it's the button that's technical assistance. So this one, SPED policy and guidance, has the TA guides that have been put out so far. And this one is a link to all of the different networks that you can get to. Okay, anything else? Let's see. Yeah, Ed, do you send out the little flyer at the end of this meeting to people?
We send out the agenda in advance, but we can also link to anything we need to and send an update. So.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and now Justin.
thanks everybody for coming today. I don't have much of an update, just really quickly. I know people are anxiously awaiting any information about the Dyslexia platform. And in order to make sure that we have everything running smoothly and any kinks ironed out before it goes wide, we are doing a small scale pilot with it. So I just wanted to let folks know that it hasn't dropped off the radar. We're not ignoring it. I don't want there to be an elephant in the room. TEA is working on it with the vendor Amplio and a small number of LEAs right now to pilot, and just stay tuned. And every time we come together, I'll have some update. It may be the update is there's no update yet, but I'll just keep that front of mind for folks that it's on the way. But I just didn't want to leave that lingering because I know it's a question a lot of folks have. So watch for more information about that. That's all I had, Ed.
Okay. The only thing I was going to just reiterate again is, and it was in the agenda, so I should pull it up, is we moved to a biweekly cadence. So we will not have a meeting next week. And these 3 dates are the rest of the meetings we have for the rest of the calendar year. So we will have another meeting the week of the 19th, and then the 2 in December. So please feel free to email us if there's specific things you'd like us to cover or address. Questions can go to disaster info or to special education. We will post a video to this, just like it continues to take about a day or so to get that up, but we will post it as soon as we can, in the same location that we always do, where the recent webinars are. The link for the meeting, so there is a question, yes, the link for the meeting always stays the same. So we always use the same one.
And Daria from Friendswood, I see your question in the chat. Would you just go ahead and email that to sped@tea.texas.gov, and we'll make sure and get an answer for you? That's pretty specific, and I don't want to screw it up. So
we can post the agenda when we post the video, but the agenda goes out across the listserv. So
it's not the listserv, it's the Ask Ted list. I just want to make sure that that we don't have any, because the listserv is 40,000 people. We don't invite them all to this webinar. So
yes, it goes across the Ask Ted. So if you're not getting it either from that or forwarded by your ESC, because all the ESCs get it too, I would follow up on that. And I see your note, April. I don't know why there's that old one there, but I'll try to figure it out. And with that, I think that's all we have. So thank you guys. Have a good afternoon, and we will talk again in 2 weeks.